What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the More Than Love podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran.
Yeah, I'm your co-host, Jay Balfour. Looking forward to another great show for tonight.
Yeah, we want to start the show off with a shout out to our homie Brother Soul Productions for providing with the audio background music. We also want to let you know how you can support the show. We need new equipment. We need to try to upgrade and expand the show. So you can donate to us through PayPal or our Cash App, or you can also support us by becoming one of our patrons on Patreon. The information is on the screen, and all support will be appreciated. This week we are going to be talking about the myth of happily ever after. And we'll be discussing what it actually takes to establish and maintain a healthy relationship. But before we get into that, we'd like to start the podcast off with the segment that we call Terry's Top 3, where we basically highlight 3 of the most popular or controversial posts from my Instagram page at Terry Duran. So the first post that we have up. Now, this was a post that somebody sent to me, and it went viral. It was posted on a page that had a whole bunch of followers, and the picture simply depicts a woman and her standards, right? So as we can see in the photo, it has the woman sitting up on some type of pedestal, all right? A guy approaches and appears to be interested and asks, "Hey, meet me down here." She asks him, "Why don't you meet me up here?" "I can't." And then she just says, "Oh," right? Now, whenever we talk about standards with women and these rules that they have for men to date them, a lot of times they're unrealistic, or that they're irrelevant in terms of whether they're actually compatible with the guy or not, or whether or not a dating situation with the guy could be sustainable, right? And so in this theoretical example, right, we have a woman that's up on her pedestal. Why does the woman automatically start off on a pedestal? I don't know, but that is a symbolic problem of the dating world. A lot of women have an elevated sense of their desirability in regards to dating, and that perspective is not shared by the men that they want to date. Right.
I think too what happens. I think at the same time there are men that put these women in pedestals that isn't warranted.
Yeah. There are always the simps and the lames that gas women up, and they resort to those type of tactics. But just beside that, right? So she's on this she's on this pedestal with what represent her standards, and women have this idea that they can't settle for anything. We can't settle at all. That's like a negative word when it comes to dating. And I always view that as problematic, because the word settle means to reach an agreement that works for two parties. Like if you go sue somebody and your lawyers come to agreement to settle out of court, that means that they agreed to the terms, to the amount of money, to the rules, whatever the case may be. It was an agreement where both people got to have input. And it's the same way with dating. The settling and compromising are the same thing. You're never going to meet somebody that's going to be a 10 in every category and just meet every box and is perfect, etc. And so what you have to do is you have to find somebody that complements you, that shares your values, that you have a system that is sustainable, you can operate with. You know what I mean? And we'll get into that a little bit later with tonight's topic, where we're talking about happily ever after and this big myth that a lot of people have. But the problem that I see with this photo is the woman doesn't put any effort into trying to even figure out if she's compatible, if she would be interested in the guy or not. It's like this attitude that you see with a lot of women, where they put very little effort into trying to make a dating experience pleasant for a man, but then they're shocked that men don't want to commit to them. You know what I mean? Like it's really confusing from a logical standpoint, if you just think about it. But
Yeah.
I this post, just in the comments, I saw so many women that were praising it and love this kind of philosophy, and it's sad because it's that kind of philosophy that are going to keep a lot of women single, right? And it'd be different if when you're talking about standards, majority of the time they're really just talking about preferences.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think a lot of times, I think just people in general confuse standards or preferences. People can't tell the difference apart here.
Yeah, they use those words interchangeably when they are definitely two different things.
Two drastically different definitions.
And a lot of the times, the things that they're treating as standards are really insignificant. You know what I mean? Like, or irrelevant.
Right. They're pretty trivial at best here.
And also, it's hypocritical because they want men to accept all of their flaws and shortcomings. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
it's that take the as on, take this as it is, or nothing.
Right, and that conflicts with the quality dude's dating experience. Quality men don't have to just take whatever a woman's offer or just choose the first woman that's available. They have options. They have a very large selection to choose from. In fact, the biggest problem most men have is only fucking with one woman. You know what I mean? Like, so for when women take that kind of stance, like, well, he better accept my rules or he misses out on me, as if that's gonna devastate the guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and in his mind, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it's when I try to provide that perspective, it gets a negative response or whatnot. Because a lot of women don't like to hear the truth about the situation and why they have the dating experiences that they have. All right, so this next post was a post that I created that I just wanted to spark some conversation. Let's see. Hold on, let me turn this off. Okay, so it says a man in a long distance relationship wants his girlfriend to live in the same city as him. So he offers for her to live rent-free in one of his rental properties for a year. All he's asking her to do is pay a $2,000 deposit that she can pay over 4 months. She refuses because she doesn't feel like she should have to pay anything since that's her boyfriend. Is she being unreasonable? Now, I want to give props. There were a lot of women that identified that this woman is being unreasonable by most people's standards. Because when you're talking about a lease or a renting of a property, the deposit is refundable, right?
Right.
It's to ensure that you don't fuck over the property or you don't do something that puts
it's basically, incidental, just like when a hotel charges you for incidental,
right?
For parking, make sure, you don't mess up the room, etc. here.
Right. Now, obviously there are a whole bunch of stipulations or specifics that can occur. Does she get actual lease? Is there an actual agreement? But I would imagine there's some type of protection in there for him as well, which is why he's asking for the deposit. But to me, anybody giving you 12 months of rent-free living to see how things go, that is a major, major, major benefit. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Depending on where you live. You know what I mean?
Right.
So to the women,
even for the deposit to pay it over 4 months, it's $500 a month. So that's not a lot of money that you have to pay each month.
Exactly.
So you could pretty much say, okay, you're paying $500 a month for rent. There's not too many cities where you could just pay $500 a month.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think a man making that type of gesture shows that he's really putting it forth effort to try to at least see if the relationship can work. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's putting yourself in a position where you could be hurt financially. That's a bigger deal than a commitment to me. You know what I'm saying? Like just saying you my girlfriend and we break up. That's way easier to deal with than somebody costing you bread. You know what I'm saying? Or
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so it just kind of goes to show you the different mentalities and how a lot of women can view these type of situations when it comes to men, money, and the fact that they're fucking or they're romantically involved with those guys. There's the sense of entitlement that just because we dating or just because we're in a relationship, I should be entitled to any financial benefits that you've established in your life. And that conflicts with the way a lot of men feel, or a lot of the way a lot of men view that situation.
Right. I mean, that's why you do have men who don't want to, have no desire to get married.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That percentage is growing every single day, man. Is there?
I think that's what the whole big toe red pill is about.
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, I think that's a little extreme.
You know what I'm saying? Extreme. It is. I definitely agree on that.
Yeah, but I understand the logic behind it. It's just, I'm granted. I understand how they feel about dating in 2020. You know what I mean, and finding a woman that you could be, have a sustainable relationship with now. But I believe in marriage. I believe it's possible to have a healthy relationship. I believe it's possible for both people to actually be happy and not lose their identity, or or not be having major conflicts with their everyday life. But I just don't think a lot of women have the mentality for it. So I don't think that the way they approach dating or the way that they treat the men that they date is conducive to maintaining that. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the things that it actually takes to maintain a healthy relationship. The last post that we wanted to talk about is a post that that was sent to me, and it said, "What advice do you have for women that want to get a commitment from a man before having sex?" My advice to a woman that is looking for that type of situation, I would strongly recommend you look for men that are very religious or men that are already practicing celibacy. I think those are kind of the only people that are really under that umbrella that will be willing to do that. I think for most men, that's a very illogical position to put yourself in, right? The expectation when you commit to a woman is that she's going to be your only source of sexual satisfaction. So if for a man to take something that important and just place it on, give it to a woman on a hope that she's willing and able to satisfy his needs, that seems very dumb to me.
You're basically going into a situation on a hope and a prayer, basically.
Yeah, that sounds like something that a high schooler would do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's no different from throwing pennies into a wishing well here or into a lake.
Right, and
that's what you're doing.
Now, I don't have nothing wrong with women that want to be celibate or take that approach. You just have to understand that it significantly decreases your pool of men. Because even a man that really likes you or could potentially be compatible with you long term, that may be a deal breaker for him. You know what I'm saying? Or you could be in a situation where he's fucking other women and dating you. And I think most women, especially women that place a really big deal and a lot of value on sex, would have an issue with that type of scenario. So there's a chance, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that there aren't any men that would do that, but those are typically going to be the very religious guys. It's very seldom going to be the men that women really want to be with.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic going to be the men that you want or the desire women. I don't think is going to go. I highly doubt they're going to go for that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to me, that's taking a very long. I mean, it's not the same thing as just marrying a woman. It's just a commitment, but it puts yourself in a bad spot if things don't work out great. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't think it's a good idea for men to take a luck type of approach. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's more strategy and there are more efficient ways to get to establish relationships that will satisfy your sexual needs, even if you don't have actual penetration with the woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are compromises that can be made in that regard. Let's switch gears and let's get into our trending topic. I didn't think there was anything else we could talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like when it came to this topic, and that is the coronavirus, which is impacting the entire world. This week it really came to a forefront in America when two NBA players tested positive for the disease, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and then a third player was named.
On the Detroit Pistons, I forget.
I forget his name, but they had played the Gobert like the Saturday before the season got canceled and all haywire. So now society seems to be in a mass panic. People overbuying toiletries and toilet paper and things of that nature. It's really unsettling, and for me, I'm out of town. I'm working in Denver, but my family, my wife and daughter are in Houston. So my wife had to go to like several stores to find tissue and just the little basics like that. And it's unsettling because it's stuff money can't fix. Just because you can afford it, don't mean it's there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, it's created a total pandemonium throughout the country here. I mean, it's hard. People acting like this is zombie apocalypse. I mean, you can't go to the drugstore. You can't go to CVS and get hand sanitizer. Everyday household products like Lysol, hand sanitizer. Hell, you go to Target, Walmart, you can't find toilet paper, paper towels. I mean, now it's going to get to the point where you can't even get you a loaf of bread or eggs or anything from the store right now.
Yeah, man, I really hope it don't get to that. I hope it dies down and we can, with the awareness that we have, we can start washing our hands more, social distancing, start taking it serious, giving it the proper respect that it deserves, and the numbers can drop and the threat level can drop.
I would say this advice to everyone here. Just take the proper precautions to protect yourself. Because, eat the proper things, boosting your immune system. Making sure you're hydrating, getting water into your system.
Vitamin C, airborne. Vegetables.
If I could I'll even make a couple of recommendations. There's a channel, Minister of Wellness. He talks about this. I know if some of you may be familiar with Reza Islam, he had put a bunch of solutions on his page.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do to try to help boost your immune system to protect yourself in this climate of germs and contagion. It's a really big, really serious issue, and I hope everybody gives it the attention that it deserves.
Right. Now, I don't think we've seen anything like this just yet. Now,
never. Not in modern history.
The closest thing I saw to this, comparable to this, now you probably wasn't affected by this, but Hurricane Sandy back in 2012. This was 2012 going on 2016 because this was right before the 2012 election. Where over here in New York City, in the tri-state area, a lot of people were affected. People didn't have power for a couple of weeks. It was hard to get gas. Like a lot of gas stations, didn't have ran out of gas or didn't have power to get gas in your car. So there were some of these gas stations where you were waiting about at least an hour minimum just to get gas, if not longer. I mean, it got real crazy, and it got to the point where some of these gas stations had the National Guard out there.
Wow. I didn't actually make it out there to New York during Hurricane Sandy. I think I went to Philadelphia to work, but it wasn't the damage wasn't as bad as they expected it to be. So I wasn't out there very long. So I didn't get to see it firsthand. But because normally those are the type of things that happen with hurricanes or things like that, power outages, tornadoes. To have it as a result of a disease is a completely different thing. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like, so that's what makes this very strange. And then the fact that we've had multiple movies depicting this type of scenario, it's hard. I mean, helps put it all into context.
Yeah, it's coincidental. It's funny. There's Kristen. And Morgan Freeman. I think it's called. Is it Quarantine?
Contagion is one of them.
Yes, and it's trending on Netflix. I think it's like the number 10 most watched movie on there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I started to watch it the other day, but then I was like, man, I don't want to start overthinking, and you know what I'm saying, like.
Right.
So I'm gonna chill out on watching it because I don't want to put my brain in overdrive. All right, we are about to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to get into the topic of the night. Tonight, we are talking about the myth of happily ever after, and we will be breaking down what it takes to actually have a healthy, sustainable relationship. You're listening to the More Than Love podcast. Thanks for tuning in. You have everything it takes to become an effective dater. I've simplified the entire process for you. All you need to do is make some adjustments to your approach to learn how you're supposed to date by downloading the Terry Duran Dating Compatibility Guide. It's available for only $1.50 exclusively at terryduranbooks.com. Welcome back. You listen to the More Than Love podcast. Tonight we are talking about the myth of happily ever after. And the reason I came up with this topic is there are a lot of people that believe that just falling in love and all it takes is love to make a relationship last over time. You know what I mean? Like they have these kind of hopeless romantic ideals and perspectives on relationships. And that's really problematic because that conflicts with reality when they get in real world situations or they get in actual relationships where you have real issues that you have to address and overcome in order to maintain a comfort level that will be what will be most considered a healthy relationship. So I wanted to start off by defining what I mean when I say a healthy relationship, because that's one of these terms that just gets tossed around all the time. Healthy relationships is toxic. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear kind of these two words just floating around all the time. My definition of a healthy relationship is a relationship where it is rooted in a mutual respect, and two people get to express themselves openly without penalty or without having to censor themselves, whether it's something good or bad, and they have effective measures of resolving issues, and there is a high level of compatibility on things as far as values and expectations. That is my idea of a healthy relationship, because that's a relationship that can stand the test of time because they have the effective communication and the conflict resolution, and they're actually compatible. So when I want the advice that I give and all the perspectives that I give are focused on trying to establish and maintain that type of relationship where you don't have unfairness and you don't have petty childish behavior, you don't have destructive relationship killing behavior taking place, because those are things that kill relationships over time. Now I see this mindset on social media all the time. All kind of posts, all kind of memes, all kind of quotes where they talk about love, and love is romanticized as the most powerful force in the world or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, and love does alter our behavior. When a person is in love, or when you have love for somebody, you do things for them that you would not do for others that you don't love. And you accept things from them that you would not accept from people that you do not love. That's really kind of the extent of it. You know what I mean? Like parents, I'd give my life for my daughter. I wouldn't do that for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, so right. There are certain things that come with parenting. There are certain things that come with a spousal relationship or just family in general that you would not do for other people. And so that's what love does. It takes practical things to actually get through the conflicts, to get through the misunderstandings, to get through the disagreements. You know what I'm saying? Like, or actually negotiate the compromises. What's reasonable? What's fair? You know what I mean? Like, it takes the right type of attitude and the right type of perspective to make these things work, because your perspective on your spouse and relationships and all that, those are the things that determine whether you're going to be pissed off over a situation, or whether you're going to see things in the right context, whether you're going to be insecure about things. Like, those are the things that play into the thoughts and behaviors that, kind of steer the course of the relationship. Those are the actual things that determine what their experience is going to be like. Is it pleasant? Is it something they want more of? Is it something that they want to commit more to? Or is it something that is pushing them away slowly but surely, that's going to make them eventually fall out of love? You know what I mean? So, now, we all know, we hear a lot of people talk about it takes work for a relationship. It takes work to make it, you know what I'm saying? Like, you hear, but it's a big cliche. But it's not so much, it's actually a true statement. The problem is everybody gets to define what work means themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it's pointless because it's a definition that everybody gets to define. So, which essentially means it has no real meaning. When you just say it takes work,
subjective.
Right?
Like, it takes work. It's definitely a subjective conversation, because what someone considers to be working on relations, somebody else can interpret that differently here.
Yeah, it's so vague. It doesn't have any meat and potatoes to it, so it doesn't really help. You know what I mean? Like, so I want to break down the 4 pillars that I feel are necessary in order for a relationship to be considered healthy and to be sustainable 10, 20, 30 years, etc. So, the first thing that I have is mutual respect. This applies this doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. Any relationship that is going to be successful has to have mutual respect. Whether it's professional, whether it's 2 friends, whether it's 2 buddies, whether it's 2 co-workers, whether it's 2 business partners, it has to be some mutual respect, because that's where you get the accountability. I can hold you accountable and you can hold me accountable because we both respect each other. You don't have a parental or a supervisor type of relationship with me. You can't dictate or just, I'm nobody's subservient to the other. We're both equals. We're both choosing to be here, so we both have a say in the relationship. That's where the mutual respect comes into play. The second thing, effective communication. You have to have effective communication in order to be able to really get your point of view across. And that also includes being a good listener. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They're great at expressing what they think, what they feel, what they don't do, what they don't give a fuck about. But they're very horrible at actually listening and comprehending what they're being told or what they're being presented with. Because if you don't have that component, you're not going to be able to get to the root of the problem when you're having discussions about issues. You know what I mean? If you have things that are disrupting the communication, like pettiness, like childish behavior, like disrespect, you know what I'm saying, things like that, then you're never going to be able to get over issues or things that may be problematic without eliminating the resentment, without without destroying the fabric of the relationship or whatnot. The third thing is ultimately the conflict resolution. How do you deal with problems? Do you just, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's going to vary based off your personalities. Some people are hotheads, they need some time to cool off. Some people need to discuss it right then. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to figure out what works best for y'all, but it has to be something where it's actually working on, it's both of you working to fix the problem.
Well, yeah, right. I think the key is effective conflict resolution, as opposed to just arguing back and forth.
Arguing till you tired.
Right, going back and forth.
Or arguing till y'all fuck again.
Right. All this yelling and screaming back and forth, which doesn't really solve anything.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so, sometimes you just need to vent and get something off your chest. Right. But doing it in that way is really unproductive, because it almost guarantees you're going to get yelling back. So you're much better off effectively explaining what the problem is, why you have the problem, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then allowing feedback, follow-up questions for clarity, etc. That's how you get to the point where y'all both on the same page, and you can actually figure out whether something was a misunderstanding. Was it I just forgot? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause sometimes it's not an intentional event or some behavior that hurt your feelings or made you feel disrespected. It could be an oversight. It could be a misunderstanding. It could be, sometimes there are real logical explanations that don't warrant a negative response. Sometimes the text message didn't go through. Sometimes they forgot to hit send. Sometimes they got distracted. Like shit like that actually happens in real life, and it's not something that you should break up over, or you should make that big of a deal. You know what I mean?
I mean, that definitely shouldn't be a deal breaker.
But a lot of people do. A lot of people make minute things like that deal breakers and end up making.
I would say if that's the case, if you're making big deals over that, then I don't see what's the point of being in that relationship. If things like that, if little things like that are a big deal to you,
right?
Because there's bigger problems ahead.
True, and that goes to my fourth point: compatibility. You have to be compatible on the things that really matter. Your values, the things that are important to you. You know what I'm saying? Like your perspective on dating, your expectations, etc. You have to at least be close in those areas, because if there's a drastic gap between one thing that you care about and they care about, it's that's where the rift will come, where you can be like, nah, this ain't gonna work. Because the people that try to force relationships like that to work, that's where you get the dysfunction. There's a wide variance in between what they feel is acceptable, or what they feel is reasonable, or what they feel respect is. And so there's going to be constant major clashes. That's how we get the fireworks from the dysfunctional relationships. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously that's not what you want. That's not sustainable long term.
I think those take a lot of people make is not seeing if they're compatible. I think people end up getting together in a lot of these relationships, end up getting in more so frivolous relationships, because they are basing stuff on superficial things. Like, for example, a guy might wife a woman because she's cute, she's got the fat ass, she's light skin, long hair. It's frivolous things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I see. We all know people like that. And you deal with the consequences. You got kids by somebody you ain't compatible with. You know what I'm saying? You married, or you got divorced and end up having to pay a chick that you should have never married. I try to teach people to avoid making dumb dating decisions like that. If some people are going to make bad decisions regardless. There's risks that come with fucking. Anybody that's fucking could accidentally have a baby or whatnot, but you can minimize the risk. You can, you can decrease the chances that you put yourself in that type of predicament.
Right. Yeah. I mean, both men and women both do it where, they're getting with a person based on, trivial matters and trivial values.
Or they're just anxious or desperate to be in a relationship.
Too.
So they end up committing to the first person they go on a date with. They on the first date pressing towards a relationship, and they find somebody that goes along with it, or doesn't have the heart to say what it really is, or you know what I'm saying? Like, that happens all the time. You might meet a dude that struggles with women and is just excited to be on a date with a halfway decent looking chick. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have a lots of different motives for the decision making and the behavior, but it ultimately doesn't lead to a healthy long-term relationship. And like I said, it's this hopeless romantic mindset that we see in society, in the movies and the R&B music and social media and all these different things that just portray, once you fall in love, if it doesn't work, it's just because y'all didn't love each other enough. And that's not an accurate depiction of what really goes on.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can love somebody to death and still not be compatible with them. Your personalities don't make y'all, just because there's love present, don't mean that y'all are actually compatible enough to make a relationship work. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very misleading, because that's very broad, very general when people say that.
Most of the bullshit is.
Yeah,
Most bullshit is vague and general, full of cliches, full of stuff that people can define themselves.
Right, yeah. And he's like said, well, they didn't love you enough, or oh, they just
Right.
they didn't love you enough, or they just weren't the one. They're missing out. It doesn't explain the whole thing or the whole story behind it, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the whole idea that love is going to conquer overall everything and just make everything perfect. That shit only happens on Disney movies. You know what I'm saying? Like where the kiss is gonna break the spell and true love will save the day. Like that's not real. You know, there are people that fall out of love every day. You can, the same way that you fall in love by having pleasant experiences with somebody, you can fall out of love if you consistently have bad experiences with them.
People also grow apart. You know, things happen. Life happens.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
People,
like so.
You know, those people, and I think when people say those things, they don't account for those things there.
Yeah, they don't look at the real life aspect of it. All right, man. It looks like we're up against the clock. So I want to give another shout out to the homie Brother Soul Productions for the background audio. Again, we need the support. Go check us out, man. Any support that y'all give, the information is right there on the screen. Shout out to everybody that's been listening to the podcast and subscribing. We like I said, we appreciate all the support and all the love, and we'll do our best to try to expand and continue to help y'all have healthier relationships. Jay, stay safe, everybody out there for the coronavirus, and we will keep it moving to try to keep the podcast coming, man. Y'all be cool. Peace.
Be safe. Peace.